They knocked once, showed a badge, and said they had orders. 2 minutes later, Marcus Eldridge was in handcuffs, stepping into a car that wasn't even real police. It happened in Joliet, Illinois. A woman called 911, whispering through tears. The police, I think. They took him. But when we checked the warrant they left behind, it wasn't real. That's when I knew this case wasn't about paperwork. It was about deception. On October 9th, Monday, Marcus Eldridge was already up, 41 years old, owned a small trucking company on the south side, routine-driven. He always left the house by 8 o'clock in the morning, coffee in one hand, phone in the other. His wife, Dana, stood in the kitchen, pouring milk into cereal bowls for their 2 kids, Jalen, 9, and Ava, 6. The radio played softly in the background, some local news about traffic delays off. I-55, nothing important, just noise. Marcus called from upstairs, half laughing. I'm hopping in the shower in 2. Where's my lucky socks? Dana smiled. Top drawer, left side, like always. They were normal people, not rich, not struggling, just steady. They went to church on Sundays, barbecued with neighbors, and kept the lawn trimmed. Dana worked part-time at a dental clinic a few blocks over. Nothing about them stood out. And maybe that's what made what happened next even more terrifying. 7:42 in the morning, the doorbell rang. Jalen was brushing his teeth. Ava was still tying her shoes. Dana walked to the door, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Through the frosted glass, she saw 2 figures in dark uniforms, one tall, one shorter. The taller one raised a badge. Ma'am, Joliet PD, he said, voice calm. We need to speak with Marcus Eldridge. There's a warrant. Dana blinked. Her heart rate jumped, but she unlocked the door anyway. The badge looked real. The tone was practiced. Can I ask what this is about? She said, already stepping aside. The taller one handed her a folder. Inside, legal-looking papers, stamped, names, case numbers. It all looked official. Standard procedure, he said. Mr. Eldridge just needs to come with us for questioning. Shouldn't take long. Marcus came down the stairs, drying his hands on a towel. Everything okay? The shorter one stepped forward, pulling out a pair of cuffs. We'll explain on the way, sir. Dana started to say something, to protest, but Marcus just nodded. He looked confused, but not scared. Okay, I'll come quietly, he said. Just let me grab my... No need, the tall one interrupted. We'll get you back before lunch. And just like that, they let him out the door. The car was parked right at the curb, dark gray, unmarked. Looked like an old Crown Victoria. No lights, no plates. Dana didn't think twice about it. Not then. She watched them pull away. No sirens. No rush. By 9 o'clock in the morning, she was calling the local precinct to ask when he'd be released. By 11, they told her they had no record of any officers sent to her house. By noon, the case landed on my desk. I remember the silence when I walked into the house, like the air had been sucked out of it. Dana sat on the edge of the couch, hands shaking. The warrant folder was on the coffee table. I opened it slowly, scanning the text. Seal looked right. Judge's name checked out. But something was off. The formatting, the spacing. A forgery, but a good one. No signs of struggle. No overturned furniture. The entry rug was still clean. It didn't look like a kidnapping. It looked like an arrest. Except there was no arrest. We canvassed the street. A neighbor 2 doors down had a doorbell cam. The footage was grainy, but you could see the car, the uniforms, the walk. No plates, no decals, nothing to trace. Marcus Eldridge had vanished in broad daylight, wearing handcuffs, under the illusion of law, and I was already thinking about who would want him gone, and why. Dana blinked at them through the peephole. 2 officers, uniforms crisp, one holding a leather folder. She opened the door halfway, cautious. The taller one stepped forward. Ma'am, we have a warrant for the arrest of Marcus Eldridge, he said, voice even, almost bored. We need to speak with him. Dana's brows pinched. What is this about? We can't disclose that. But the paperwork is here. He handed her the folder. She flipped through the printed pages, her fingers shaking slightly. At the top, she saw her husband's name, a seal, and what looked like a judge's signature. She didn't understand the legal wording, but it looked official. Marcus came out of the hallway, towel around his neck. He froze when he saw them. "What the hell is this?" he asked, eyeing the uniforms. "Sir, we need you to come with us," said the shorter man. "You can call your attorney once we're downtown." Marcus glanced at Dana, confused, not scared, just disoriented like someone waking from a dream. This has to be a mistake." One of them gently guided him toward the door. Dana reached for his arm, but the taller man raised a hand. "Ma'am, please stay back." They cuffed Marcus with swift, practiced hands. Dana stepped forward, voice rising now. "Where are you taking him?" "What precinct?" "Joliet Station, the short one," replied without hesitation. "You'll get a call within the hour." They led Marcus out to a dark sedan. No lights, no sirens. Dana stood in the doorway, barefoot on cold tile, watching her husband duck into the back seat. The car eased out of the driveway like nothing unusual had happened. By the time her kids came downstairs, he was gone. At 8:03 in the morning, Dana called the station. No one had heard of any arrest involving Marcus Eldridge. She tried. Again. Same result. By 9:15, she was pacing. She called again, this time demanding answers. Still nothing. At 10:42, I was sitting at my desk when the case hit my desk. A possible impersonation, missing adult, maybe worse. I arrived at their house just after noon. The sky was overcast, a low gray blanket pressing down on everything. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Dana sat on the couch, her knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped around herself. She looked up at me. Her eyes were puffy but dry. "He's never not called," she whispered. "Never." I asked for the warrant. She handed it to me like it was made of glass. It had the look of something real. Correct formatting, legal jargon, even a judge's signature that matched one from our district. But something about it felt off. The font spacing was a little too clean, the paper stock too flimsy. I called it in. Within minutes, our office confirmed. The warrant wasn't in the system. I walked back into the living room, met Dana's eyes. "That warrant's fake," I said. "This wasn't a real arrest." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean someone dressed up as police officers and took your husband. And they were convincing enough to fool anyone. We canvassed the neighborhood. One house, 4 doors down, had a doorbell cam. At 7:45 in the morning, the footage showed a black unmarked sedan pull up in front of the Eldridge home. 2 men stepped out, both in uniforms. One adjusted his belt, the other tucked something into his back pocket. They walked with the confidence of real cops. No hesitation. The sedan had no license plates. We zoomed in. The car had an aftermarket, spotlight near the side mirror and what looked like a plastic divider in the back seat. I paused the video. Something inside me turned cold. They weren't just pretending. They had studied this. By late afternoon, we pulled Marcus's phone records. No activity after 7:46 in the morning. Nothing on social media. Bank accounts untouched. I interviewed Dana again. She was more alert now, the numbness fading into frantic focus. "Has he ever been in trouble with the law before?" I asked. "No," she said. "Never. Any enemies? Problems at work?" She hesitated. There were 2 guys. He used to employ them, Brandon and Nate. They stole from the business last year. Marcus took them to court. He won. They were ordered to pay restitution. "How did they take it?" "Badly," she said. Brandon cursed him out in court. Nate just stared. Dug into it. Brandon Lowry and Nathan Cruz. Both had records. Minor stuff. DUIs. Disorderly conduct. But nothing that screamed kidnapper. Then I pulled their military files. Brandon, discharged in 2016. Logistics, heavy transport. Nate, Former MP, military police with 2 deployments. That was the first real tremor. These weren't just bitter ex-employees. They had tactical training, knowledge of procedure, and, if they blamed Marcus for ruining their lives, motive. We pulled their last known addresses. Both were stale. Brandon's apartment had been cleared out 3 weeks prior. Nate's lease was terminated months ago. That night I lay in bed turning it over in my mind. 2 men, methodical, patient, and desperate. But there had to be a trail. There always is. Tuesday morning. Joliet PD's war room smelled like burnt coffee and too many hours with no answers. We spread everything we had across the whiteboard. Marcus's timeline, the fake warrant, the sedan, Brandon and Nate's photos side by side. They looked like any other guys in the world. You wouldn't blink if they stood behind you in line. But behind their eyes there was something else. Something hard. I assigned a tech to dig into their financials. If they were on the run, they'd need money. But their accounts were bone dry, no credit activity, no recent withdrawals. We checked relatives too. Nothing. They were ghosts. But ghosts make mistakes. Around 10:17 in the morning, I got a call from dispatch. A business owner in Joliet reported something strange. A black sedan parked behind her property since yesterday morning. Covered in dust, no plates. I was there in 10 minutes. It was the car. Same make. Same aftermarket spotlight. And when we opened the trunk, gloves, zip ties, and a burner phone. No blood. No signs of violence. Just chilling preparation. We ran prints. Partials on the passenger door. No match in the system. But the phone. That was something else. The burner had 2 numbers in its recent call history. One disconnected, the other still active. We pinged it. It was moving. Heading west on I-80, we alerted state police. 20 minutes later, troopers found the phone dumped on the shoulder near exit 137, wrapped in a plastic bag. But before they could grab it, an 18-wheeler ran it over, shattered. We pulled the SIM, but the data was corrupted. Whatever trail it held, gone. Back. At the Eldridge home, Dana was unraveling. The kids were staying with her sister. Dana had barely eaten. Her eyes were constantly darting to the front door like she was waiting for Marcus to walk through and say it was all a joke. But there was one thing she hadn't mentioned. A voicemail. It came in that morning. No caller, ID, just a man's voice, calm, controlled. It said, "Your husband's not dead. Yet, stay quiet. No cops, no news. You'll hear from us in 3 days." Dana had frozen when she heard it. Then she panicked. She called me. We pulled the audio. Ran voice analysis. No match to any known sample. But I knew what this was. Leverage. They didn't want ransom. Not yet. They wanted something else first. Silence. They wanted control. By Wednesday, the story started leaking. Local reporters sniffed it out. Man disappears after fake arrest in Joliet. We didn't give them details, but speculation spread like fire. We were losing time. That's when I went back to the original case. The lawsuit Marcus filed against Brandon and Nate. The court transcripts showed something we missed. At the end of the hearing, when restitution was ordered, Marcus had said something under his breath. The court recorder picked it up. He said, "Let this be the last time I see either of you." It wasn't just a legal matter. It was personal. I drove out to Marcus's business, a warehouse near the Des Plaines River. Metal fabrication, welding, gear, machines, long workbenches. His foreman, a guy named Rico, said Marcus hadn't been acting strange lately, just tired, working longer hours. But Rico remembered one thing. About 3 weeks earlier, a white van had been parked across the street 2 days in a row. No logos, just sitting there. Engine running sometimes, sometimes not. Windows tinted. Marcus saw it, stared at it a long time. Said nothing. That told me everything. They'd been watching him. We pulled traffic cam footage from that street. And there it was, a white Chevy Express. No plates again. It lingered near the shop on 2 separate mornings. Both times it left just minutes after Marcus did. We tracked it eastbound on local cameras. Then it disappeared off-grid, but we got a lead. On one frame, as the van pulled onto a frontage road, the passenger leaned out to fix the mirror. The camera caught his face. The facial recognition gave us 82% confidence. Nathan Cruz, the same man who'd looked like a statue in court. No record of violence, no known affiliations. But now, we had him connected. By Thursday, the FBI was watching with quiet interest. Not officially involved yet, but this was heading into federal territory fast, impersonating federal officers, kidnapping, crossing state lines. I didn't want to wait for red tape. I needed to move now. That night, I drove alone. Just me, a thermos of stale coffee and the case file playing in my head like a movie on repeat. Brandon was the hothead. Nate was the planner. But Marcus was the piece I still didn't understand, because no matter how I flipped it, it didn't make sense that 2 men would risk life in prison just for revenge over a court loss. This was bigger than anger. There was something they wanted, from him, and Marcus knew it was coming. Friday morning, a break. Dana called in, her voice cracked and trembling. She'd found something Marcus had hidden, a locked metal briefcase behind the drywall in their bedroom closet. We rushed over. It was tucked behind a false panel, wedged deep between insulation and studs. The lock was high-end, not something you buy at a hardware store. Dana swore she'd never seen it before. With her permission, we forced it open. Inside, a small black notebook, a USB drive, a single folded sheet of paper with a name written in block letters, Adrian Vega, and a key stamped with a bank's insignia. We looked at Dana. She looked at the name. Never heard of him, but I had. Adrian Vega wasn't a criminal, he was worse. He was a broker, a cleaner, a guy who operated in the shadows, always 3 steps removed. He didn't commit crimes. He facilitated them. You needed documents clean, vehicles, untraceable cash. Vega knew a guy. Or 10. We'd been trying to connect him to a dozen federal investigations, but he always slipped out. He kept no digital presence, no cell phone, no confirmed address. He worked strictly in whispers and middlemen. So the question was, why was his name in Marcus's secret box? We started with the bank key. It matched a safety deposit box at First Central Trust, Joliet Branch. With Dana's signed consent, we got in. The contents were strange, unsettling. A manila folder labeled contingency. Inside were old surveillance photos, grainy shots of Brandon and Nathan taken months earlier, sitting in a diner, walking near Marcus's shop, once even parked near Marcus's house. A second folder labeled July 12th, 2023. That was the day Marcus testified in a case completely unrelated to Brandon and Nate. He had acted as a witness for a federal racketeering trial, a case against a man named Leonel Rivera. Rivera was the real thing. Cartel-linked, ruthless, smart. Marcus had testified about some equipment Rivera's men tried to launder through his business. He said no, reported it. That kind of decision doesn't just go away. My gut twisted. I called our contact at the Chicago field office. She confirmed, yes, Marcus's name had been sealed in the Rivera case to protect him. The file was classified. Even local PD wasn't supposed to know. But someone did know, and now it made sense. Brandon and Nathan weren't just mad about the lawsuit. They were working for someone else. Someone who wanted Marcus to disappear or break. We analyzed the USB encrypted, triple-layered. Took our forensics guys 8 hours to crack. What we found blew the case open. The drive contained financial ledgers, money movement across fake accounts, names, drop points, plate numbers, security camera timestamps, and a final folder called insurance.inside were audio files, recordings of phone calls. In one, a voice we confirmed as Brandon said, he knows too much. He kept records. If that gets out, we're all cooked. In another, Nathan says he's got leverage. We take him now, we take the leverage with him. That's when I realized Marcus wasn't just a target. He was a threat. Saturday morning, car was found abandoned on Route 6 just south of Channahon. It was torched. Nothing left but the frame and a charred license plate. It was registered to Nathan Cruz. Nearby, under a mossy rock in a drainage culvert, troopers found a waterproof bag. Inside, a cheap prepaid phone and a burner wallet. The phone had one message unsent, drop location secured, awaiting third party. We froze the scene. Who was the third party? Who else was involved? By now, Dana was under 24-hour watch. We moved her to a safe location. But something still didn't add up. Marcus had built an entire fail-safe, records, tracking logs, deposit box, but he didn't leave instructions. No goodbye. No final message. Unless we missed it. I went back to the notebook. It wasn't a diary. It was a cipher. Page by page, Marcus used a code, each number pointing to coordinates, then timestamps, then phrases pulled from legal filings. It was a trail, a map, and it led to a location, an abandoned feed mill near Wilmington. Quiet, out of the way. We prepped a small team. No sirens, no backup. Just 4 of us and body cams. When we got there, it was just after 8:00 p.m. The mill was dark, silent, but someone had been there. Fresh tire marks, cigarette butts, a trail of boot prints leading down into the lower level. We followed. At the far end of the concrete chamber, we found it. A folding chair, ropes, blood, and a strip of cloth that looked like it came from Marcus's shirt, no body. No sign of life. But someone had been held there and they were moved. We were close. But we weren't the only ones closing in. By Sunday morning, one of our confidential informants, a petty thief named Rory Dell, asked to speak to me directly. He didn't want money, didn't want immunity, just wanted protection. He said he knew about the 2 men impersonating cops, Brandon and Nathan, and someone else. A third man, a ghost. We brought him in quietly. No paperwork, no files, just a one-on-one. What Rory told me made my blood run cold. There's a warehouse, he whispered. Off Arsenal Road, they got a badge printer in there, uniforms, radios, body, cams, all fake. They've been running drills, practicing for months. Even had a cop car clone. Marcus saw something he wasn't supposed to. They weren't going to kill him, unless they had to. I asked him, why would someone go through all that? For one guy, Rory just stared at the wall. Then he said, because he found the real reason they wear the badge. We got a warrant by noon. By 4:00 p.m., we had 10 officers, full tactical. The warehouse was quiet when we arrived. No movement, no surveillance. It felt wrong, like walking into a crime scene that had already been cleaned. But inside, it was exactly as Rory described. Dozens of fake uniforms, Joliet PD patches, replica radios and scanners, a row of locked cabinets containing firearms, real ones, with serials scratched. Out in the back a car, Crown Vic, blue and white, identical to a patrol cruiser. It even had a dash cam. We pulled the footage. The last clip was dated 2 weeks before Marcus vanished. It showed Brandon and Nathan, in full uniform, pulling over a semi-truck on I-55. No lights, no backup. They approached with clipboards like it was routine inspection. 15 minutes later, the truck drove away. No citation, no paperwork. We traced the plates. The truck belonged to a shell company in Nevada, which itself was owned by another in Panama. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't just impersonating. Cops, it was organized, structured, funded. We ran the prints from the warehouse. The third man finally had a name. Luis Carranza, military background, former special ops, honorably discharged, disappeared 6 years ago. Since then, nothing. No address, no credit history, just the occasional blurry sighting linked to suspicious jobs in Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky. Now he was in Joliet, and he was the one Rory said was really in charge. We went back to the USB Marcus left. A buried folder we hadn't seen before contained encrypted photos. Once decrypted, they showed Luis and Brandon at a farm outside Kankakee, hauling crates into a barn. Same truck from the dash cam. We got satellite coordinates from the photo's metadata. It matched a small property listed under another fake LLC. We set up surveillance. 3 nights. No movement. Then, on the 4th night, a light. Someone walked out of the barn. We moved. The raid was fast. Inside the barn, we found 7 large crates of stolen firearms, 4 duffel bags of cash, roughly $850,000, and in a back room, what looked like a holding cell. Blood on the wall, a bucket, a chain bolted to the floor, but no Marcus. Just a message, scratched into the wood paneling with something sharp. I heard the badge click shut. The next morning, we finally caught our break. A stolen SUV pinged at a gas station near the border of Indiana, same plate seen leaving the warehouse weeks prior. State troopers gave chase. It crashed outside Gary. Inside were Brandon and Nathan, alive, beaten, panicked, talking over each other. Brandon had a broken arm. Nathan was shaking uncontrollably. They said Luis turned on them, told them Marcus was too much heat, said they were disposable. They claimed Luis moved Marcus again, and then disappeared. We booked them both. No deals, no negotiations, and still, no sign of Marcus. But Nathan cracked first. He said something that changed everything. Marcus didn't die because of what he saw. He died because of what he kept. That phrase, what he kept, triggered something. I remembered the last part. Of the USB, a compressed file still unread. We opened it, more ledgers. But this time with routing numbers. One of them matched a deposit made just 2 days before Marcus disappeared. $50,000 wired to a bank in Chicago, from an account linked to a local union's pension fund. I called in a favor. From a financial crimes analyst, he called back 10 minutes later. That account has processed over $6 million in unexplained withdrawals, all tied to city-funded construction jobs. Someone was laundering money through government contracts, fake police, fake inspections, and Marcus, with his security company, had gotten a contract to secure one of those sites. That's where he saw the wrong badge. That's where he started digging, and that's when they came for him. We were running out of time. Brandon and Nathan were locked down, but Luis Carranza was still out there. And if what they said was true, Marcus could be too. Barely. One more clue. That $50,000 payment Marcus traced, the one routed from the union fund, had a memo line. It just said, number 416, RFKK, RF, Rural Farm, KK, Kankakee. We scanned every parcel of land purchased in the last 3 years with those initials or overlapping coordinates. One hit. A 17-acre horse property purchased under a false name, no official activity, and surrounded by tree lines. Luis had bought himself a ghost house. We rolled in heavy. DEA, local PD, 1 federal marshal. No lights, no sirens, just cold gravel and dead air. The house was empty. Furniture looked staged, beds unused. Nothing in the fridge. But behind the barn we saw something. An old rusted trailer. Doors sealed shut with a padlock. Inside, a concrete hatch. No markings, just a rusted steel handle. We pulled it open. It groaned like a scream. A set of stairs led down into darkness. The smell hit first. Mildew, rust, something older. We moved in slow. 10 feet, 20. Then a room. Dim lights. And him, Marcus, alive. He was chained to the wall. Thin, pale, dehydrated, but breathing. Eyes bloodshot. He didn't speak at first, just stared. Then he whispered, I didn't give them the files. They said if I did, they'd let me go. He coughed, then added, but it wasn't just about the badge. It was about who gave it to them. We got him out, airlifted him to Joliet Memorial. The medical staff said if we'd been even 48 hours later, he might not have made it. Marcus gave us everything. He'd backed up the USB 3 times, 2 digital, 1 printed, and mailed to his sister the week before he vanished. The documents exposed a network of bribes, fake contractors, and forged inspections signed off by 5 different city officials, including a deputy commissioner. The impersonated cops weren't just cover, they were enforcers for a laundering operation that spanned 3 counties. Luis wasn't a psychopath. He was a soldier, just taking orders, but not anymore. Because 6 hours after Marcus was rescued, Luis Carranza made his move. Surveillance picked him up on a bridge in Joliet, walking alone. By the time we arrived, he was gone. Jumped, presumed dead, but no body was recovered. Brandon and Nathan took plea deals, 25 to life, no parole. The deputy commissioner resigned, then was indicted. 4 other officials followed. The warehouse, seized. The shell companies, dissolved. The badge printer, destroyed. Marcus, he survived. He doesn't run security anymore. He volunteers now, gives lectures on corruption, on accountability, on how sometimes wearing a badge means learning who else wears one without earning it. He doesn't talk about the cell. He doesn't talk about the hatch. But one thing he told me stuck with me forever. You can't fake a badge. You can fake the patch, the uniform, even the look in your eyes. But when the moment comes, when someone's life is on the line, that badge either means something or it doesn't. And Luis? If he's alive, he's watching, waiting. But we're watching too. Because once someone wears the wrong badge, they never really take it off.
What are your thoughts on this case? Let us know in the comments. Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily crime cases we uncover. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click here to watch the next video as we uncover another thrilling crime case.